superheroes. On the other side is Mullen, Collins with an S, playing Simic Mass Manipulation. And if our metagame analysis and breakdown is any indication, life is going to be good here for Mr. Mullen, even though he is on a mulligan to 6. Because this should be a very good matchup. I think this is the reason you play this deck.
I think so. I mean, the Esper deck doesn't really apply all that much pressure. They put a lot of Planeswalkers onto the battlefield, and of course doing business, and Mana Acceleration and Mass Manipulation is a very good recipe against them.
Collin's going to start things off with a Memorial to Genius, which is just a one of. Now he's got a Breeding Pool into an Incubation Druid. For Collin Roundtree, he's going to kick things off with a Thought Eraser. So we'll see a hand here in just a moment from Collins that has, looks like a land, a Nissa Who Shakes the World, among other options. Again, Mullen on your right did kick this thing off with a mulligan, and he'll lose the Nissa, but a Growth Spiral still in hand.
Good for Roundtree here to take the premium card out of Mullen's hand, but still a lot of burden on Roundtree to get the game over with and or fight the Mana Acceleration, because given enough time here, Mullen is going to find some other big payoff card, and the game will get out of control very quickly.
Looks like it might be Jade Light Ranger time. It is. Explore triggers. One is an island. That'll go to the hand. Next one is a forest, and that will go to the hand.
Big hits for Mullen, because he needs the mana. Can recoup the cards from the mulligan. And the difference between a 2-1 and a 4-3 here, or a 3-2, is not that big. It's something that can pressure a Planeswalker in either event, and something that trades with a removal spell in either event.
Also worth noting that Collins Mullen's draw step after that Thought Eraser was a Nissa. So that's a pretty big deal, as now Teferi is going to come down and bounce Incubation Druid. Jaylight Ranger will clean that up here momentarily, I'm sure. But if you are Collins Mullen, you are pretty thrilled with how things are going. This is, again, one of the main reasons you elected to play this deck in the first place, is this particular matchup. Growth Spiral might be how Mullen kicks things off here on his 4th turn. First things first, though, is Jaylight Ranger taking care of the Planeswalker. Now it's going to be, it looks like Incubation Druid. Maybe not. Mullen not sure how he wants to sequence the 2-mana spells. There's a Growth Spiral. Hinterland Harbor the draw. Now there's the other land from the Growth Spiral. Here comes the Incubation Druid. And we are heading back over to Roundtree.
Looks like a little thing, but it's so important, I think, in this format to be able to, if you can accrue early card advantage and kind of get your engine going through creatures that are able to assist in managing opposing Planeswalkers, that's a really big part of making sure the game doesn't get out of control on the other side.
Basilica Bellhaunt to play. Mullen discards a land, quite simply, as Roundtree moves up to 23. Interesting that Bellhaunt has made its way into this format. The previous standard format, simply not good enough on a power level aspect, but people feeling as though Basilica Bellhaunt and how good it is against mono red makes it worthy of main deck inclusion.
Yep, and it's, you get your money no matter what. Even if it dies, you're up your card. It's a thing that can pressure Planeswalkers, but I think you hit it on the head. The major thing here is giving you some way to ace the mono red matchup game 1, because absent of this card, especially if you're playing with things like Thief of Sanity, I think that matchup is just too hard, and it's not a matchup you can afford to be giving away percentage points to right now.
It is time to shake the world. Nissa Who Shakes the World has arrived. That creature is going to turn into a 3/3 land now. That did tap for some green mana, and now I think we're going to see, yep, the adapting there of an Incubation Druid, which means that Mullen has a ton of mana next turn, and now the hope is that he's got something like a Mass Manipulation to spend all the mana on. Hydroid Krasis wouldn't be so bad either.
Yeah, any big payoff card from here is going to be a huge, huge hit for Mullen, because mana is no longer going to be a consideration if you can keep this battlefield up.
This is a Hero of Precinct 1. That is a Water Your Grave untapped, as Column Roundtree will fall down to 21. And now there is a Teferi. Teferi will come down. It will bring a token along with it, thanks to the hero. And we'll see what Teferi will be bouncing here. And there goes the Incubation Druid that was adapted. So we're going to head back over to Roundtree, who can still draw one of his large payoffs and really dominate this game.
A little interested to see Roundtree go after the Nissa the previous turn, because there's no way either it goes to 3 or it gets a chump block. It doesn't really help either way. But now the way that his battlefield is, he can't really defend his Teferi all that well, because he has to chump block in the event that he wants to preserve it with the hero, assuming Mullen makes a second land that can attack. And the 3/4 on defense just seems so potent against that. It makes the combat so much harder. So I don't know if Roundtree thinks that over the course of several turns he may be able to threaten the Nissa through combat. That feels unrealistic to me. And in the interim, he gives up, I think, a lot of his board position, not having a 3/4 back on defense to defend against 3/3s.
It appears as though a mass manipulation may be in hand here for Collin's Mullen, and he is thinking about just the best way to use that powerful sorcery. Also in hand, it appears as though there's a Hinterland Harbor and that Incubation Druid.
The mass manipulation is an interesting spot here for Mullen, because it's not bad just to cast right now. You're going to get a ton of value out of it. You might be able to do better, but you're also playing against a deck with Thought Erasure. So do you just cash it in now where the spot's pretty good, or do you hold off for another turn or two and try to get something even larger?
Well, Mullen, always a very thoughtful player, has probably been prompted to make an action now. Can't sit there and wait forever. And this is going to go up to 7 as that land, that breeding pool tapped for mana, and now we have some creatures that'll be tapping for mana now, and it's going to be a big mass manipulation. Yeah, those now belong to Collins. He will get a Basilica Bellhaunt, a Teferi, and a Hero of Precinct 1. So the very powerful sorcery there in mass manipulation starting to take over this game. This is the whole reason to play this deck, and it is a pretty darn good reason.
Yep, and it's particularly for this matchup where Esper just puts a lot of really good permanents you can take on the battlefield at a slow pace.
Mm-hmm. They just don't kill you fast enough.
No. And they put a lot of high-value targets out there.
To say the least. Here is a Hero of Precinct 1. Next up is another copy of Teferi. Token will be generated there from the hero, of course. Teferi Time Raffler will resolve, and we'll see what it's bouncing. It will bounce a hero back to Collin Mullen's hand. He will draw a card. We had it. Let's see, bouncing back to Collin Roundtree's hand. There's an attack from the token to bring Nissa down to 6. And now we'll head back over to Collin's Mullen. Growth Spiral appears to be the draw. They go along Incubation Druid in hand. It's been there for another turn or two. Here is a Growth Spiral. Looks like with a little bit of mana floating. No, actually, it's a Hinterland Harbor and an island, so no mana floating at all. Pardon me.
Yeah, Mullen is, I believe, out of forest beyond the 2 that have been animated.
Mm-hmm. Teferi is going to scooch on up to 3. There are some good attacks to be had here with these lands, it appears. And now here comes another one. And remember, they have Vigilance too. So Nissa Who Shakes the World, very underrated card to start. I think everyone's starting to learn just how powerful this 5-mana Planeswalker is.
Yeah, it seemed pretty innocuous at first. I think a lot of that has to do with, well, why would I want to even turn on my lands into 3/3s? Because the red deck plays so many copies of Lightning Strike. There's so many good Planeswalkers for 5 mana. Is this really above the line? But the amount of mana it generates and the amount of good X spells afforded to blue and to Simic gets it over the line.
Collin going to take a look at the powerful Planeswalker. Wants to make sure he can figure out a way to beat this thing. Made him discard 1 earlier, but the other Nissa is on the battlefield just doing its thing and doing it very, very well. Remember, both these players are 8-0, so the winner of this match will be the lone undefeated player in the tournament and be in great shape to make the top 8 later today and into tomorrow morning.
And Mullen, they're not even bothering with Teferi Time Raveler. It's not like Roundtree can do anything that productive with it this turn. And with Mullen having his own Teferi Time Raveler set to 3, it's going to be really challenging for Roundtree to be able to block out of the next turn.
There is Hero of Precinct 1. An Isolated Chapel, and now Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Another token will be coming. Actually, let's make it tokens, plural. And now it's time for that to go away. There may be a response here, however.
Yeah, Mullen may want to take this opportunity to sacrifice his Memorial. He can also float the mana, allow the Hero of Dominaria to resolve, and then draw if he really wants to get the Nissa back.
Well, he drew a Nissa and a Mass Manipulation, so.
But now he's a little jammed on mana.
Mm-hmm.
The Mass Manipulation is still going to be quite good here, but
yeah. I think it'll take a turn or two to maybe set up, potentially.
But in the interim, also Roundtree's got to not die. You know,
yeah.
He's under a lot of pressure too. So
now Tamiyo to draw. So a hand with Tamiyo, Mass Manipulation, and Nissa, who shakes the world, means that Collin's Mullen has some options at his disposal. No White Splash here for Collin's Mullen here. I know he's got Teferi on his side of the battlefield, but that's because it was Roundtree's. But there are some builds of this deck that do elect to splash white for Teferi's, plural, Lyra Dawnbringer, Shalai, Voice of Plenty, things like that. Looks like Mullen is starting to come to a decision on what he wants to do on this turn.
You also remember that he can cash in the Time Raveler here for a card and an unsummon if he wants it.
This looks like 5 mana. Maybe. We'll shake the world again. Looks like he's going to plus the Nissa to untap Hinterland Harbor and make that a creature land that has vigilance and all that jazz. Remember, whenever you tap a forest for mana, it will generate an additional green, so there is an untapped forest out there that can do that. And it looks like Basilica Bellhaunt is going to start the attacking, and now the forest might as well. And he says, you, not your planeswalkers. With it appears as though 3 attackers, so. We'll see how Roundtree does want to block. It looks like he's thinking about just lining up some chump blocks here with these Hero of Precinct 1 soldier tokens. When I take that back, it looks like maybe a triple block is in order.
Yeah, you got to make some inroads on the battlefield here. He's not in a position to just chump block for the whole game.
Be a tough way to go about winning it.
Magic players, this is the last call for the 1130 Standard Challenge. If you would like to play in the 1130 Standard Challenge, please make your way to the side of the stage.
Teferi is going to go up to 4. Tap a little bit of mana here. Maybe for another Incubation Druid, perhaps. But instead, nope, just says, I will pass the turn back.
Yeah, if you want to set the Teferi up to 4 in lieu of just cashing in for a card, then I think you need to leave the 3/3 back to at least threaten a block to protect your Time Raveler. The alternate line is I think Mullen could have just cashed his chips in there, bounce something and draw a card. But if you really wanted to do that, I think you would have seen it before combat. So he's got bigger plans for the Teferi.
There might be some value in saying you can't play, you have to play at sorcery speed.
Also, just how much the threat of you being able to bounce something informs Roundtree's blocks and attacks. is part of it too.
Mm-hmm. All right, a third hero. Even more tokens thanks to this Thought Eraser. Mass Manipulation, Tamiyo, and Incubation Druid are the cards in hand. Tamiyo kind of gumming this up a little bit because if Mass Manipulation is selected, Tamiyo can get it back. And if you select Tamiyo, well, Collin still has Mass Manipulation.
Yeah, I think from Mullen's side, I would have had a slight preference last turn, especially when you have the 2 mana left over and an Incubation Druid in your hand. That'd be really nice to cast. I think I would have preferred just cashing in the Time Raveler and then for a card, and then playing the Incubation Druid.
Mass Manipulation is the selection there with the Thought Eraser. Liliana, Dreadhorde General, heads to the graveyard from the Surveil. And now here's Tyrant Scorn to take care of the Hinterland Harbor, and 3 more tokens are on the way. Roundtree starting to get a little bit of work done here.
Yeah, this is my other concern with Mullen's last turn here is now he's in a position to either chump block or if these go after the Time Raveler, he has to either chump or let the Time Raveler go.
Decisions here for Roundtree. We'll figure out where he's attacking. It looks like these heroes are going to Nissa and not to Teferi.
Well, that does not force a chump block. Mullen can just let that go down to 2.
Down to 2 it will go. And then Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, will untap some lands. But again, remember that Collin's Mullen has a Teferi Time Raveler, and Roundtree cannot play at instant speed now. So we are going to head back over to Collin's Mullen. (20-6) in favor of our Simic Mass Manipulation player, and he's looking to just figure out the best way to close out this game. Could use another big Mass Manipulation, but getting there is starting to prove to be a little bit difficult, oddly enough.
Yeah, the Mass Manipulation is not the type of knockout that it typically is in this spot because Roundtree has so many tokens to chump block with, and it's not efficient to be taking them.
The member of Team Lotus Box is in the tank once again. It looks like he's going to start with Teferi, melting a token and drawing a new card. Nissa who shakes the world again. A Planeswalker that is not great in multiples. There will be spots where it's acceptable, but I don't think we're in that right now. And oddly, one thing you can say about Collins is for a 26-land deck, he doesn't appear as though he's found very many.
Well, some of them have died via removal spells
Also
in combat. Lost 1 to a triple block the previous turn, and then to a Tyrant Scorn on Roundtree's turn.
Looks like it might be time for a Hydroid Crisis.
I don't know if Hydroid Crisis is an acceptable use of your turn here, because Roundtree is in a position next turn to really go after your Planeswalkers.
I think Collins having some difficulty with this as well. He might be agreeing with you, but instead he will go with the Jellyfish Hydra Beast. Not the biggest one we've ever seen, and it's just a 4/4. There's a basic forest that'll tap for 2 green mana because of Incubation Druid. Nissa will finally plus, untapping an island and putting 3 counters onto it. It's a lot more difficult game than I thought. This is a lot more difficult game than I thought it was going to end up here, partner. I thought Mullen was going to run away with this after that Mass Manipulation.
Well, he's got to slow down a little bit here because Roundtree has generated so many tokens that Mullen is not really in a position to close out this game or really even go after any of Roundtree's Planeswalkers. So you kind of have to spend a turn or two reloading on cards to try to make your last push.
Back over to Roundtree, we're going to go. He's starting to settle in now. We are very much into the late game. 3 heroes, plenty of tokens from the Hero Precinct 1s, and both Teferis on the battlefield for our Esper Superheroes player. First things first, Teferi Time Raveler will move up to 3. That's a lot of mana to tap for another Teferi. Looks like replacing the one that's on the battlefield. So we are up now to 8 soldier tokens, and now a new Teferi Hero of Dominaria. It's going to bounce Hydroid Krasis. Well, I guess actually not bounce it, but put it into the deck instead. Pardon me.
Yeah, if Roundtree doesn't have a removal spell, just a creature with flying right now is really threatening.
Mm-hmm. Roundtree trying to figure out the best way to go about attacking, if he will do any attacking at all. Basilica Bellhaunt and that token being back on defense makes things a little bit interesting. But it looks like 5 soldier tokens and a hero are headed into the red zone. Again, we're going to find out where they're going. They can go at Collin's Mullen, they can go at Nissa, who shakes the world, or they can finish off that Teferi Time Raveler.
Well, with 6 attackers coming in against 3 blockers from Mullen, and the Nissa at 3, I think this is a pretty straightforward attack trying to finally get that Nissa down. Roundtree does have to offer up one of his heroes to make this happen, which Mullen will happily block. But from Roundtree's perspective, he's gotten kind of through the worst of it.
Well, he did take care of that Nissa.
Not the tightest sequencing here from Roundtree. It was kind of face up how combat was going to go. And casting the Thought Erasure after you know that you're going to lose one of your heroes is not the most efficient.
Means you missed out on a token.
Yep.
Could be 6 untapped tokens. Right now it's only 5 as we head back over to Collin's Mullen.
Your round 1 pairings are being posted by the blue gallery point underneath the Johnny banner.
Teferi's ticking up. That's the first order of business for Collin's Mullen. The question is, can Collins maybe take care of these planeswalkers this turn or anything like that? I suppose it would just be a lot of chump blocking there from Roundtree with these soldier tokens.
Yeah. No, I think Roundtree is better served, or excuse me, Mullen rather, is better served here. Again, just spending mana to advance your board. I don't think there's a whole lot to be gained in combat. I guess the thing now is, with Teferi Time Raveler at 3 loyalty, there's some interest in trying to attack that down. You had a couple turns where it wasn't really doing anything. Next turn it's threatening another bounce and card. And, you know, even if you force some chump blocks out of Roundtree, that's something.
See what's going on here. Okay, so we're going to see an Incubation Druid get adapted, and now it's going to be a Jade Light Ranger. Forest is the first reveal. Didn't get a great look at the second one.
Well, that should be the Krasis that was set down.
No, yes,
through Teferi.
yes. Look at you. You have your coffee?
I had 1 cup. No, I had 3. I had 2 small ones at the room this morning. I don't know if you count those or not.
Most people would.
Yeah.
Most people would count that as a cup.
So 2 or, I guess, 2 or 3.
Okay. I like switching from 1 to 3 really fast.
I had to think about it for a second because I typically don't count those.
You're a venti guy at Starbucks, huh? I can tell.
Try not to do the Starbucks thing. Fortunately, Star City Games has gone on their way to get a bunch of local vendors in here for food and beverages.
Yeah?
So we got a local traveling coffee shop here going on.
Okay, how's that treating you?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Nice.
it's excellent. Good chats with the vendor.
There's a hot wing truck over there, too.
Yeah, I hit that up yesterday too.
How was that?
It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
I've been putting my eyes out on that one.
Yeah.
Basilica Bell Haunt. Hero triggers. And then the Bell Haunt trigger. Time for a little bit of block, and I really am shocked that Collin's still in this game.
Well, he's made, you know, with the heroes, it's really hard for Mullen to make any traction against the Planeswalkers. He has no evasion, no removal, so he's just got to play through the jump blockers. And they have put Roundtree in a position to threaten Mullen's Planeswalkers, and now we have a game.
Mm-hmm. Gala Shrine enters the battlefield tapped. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, will untap a couple of lands. We're going to head back over to Mullen, who should be drawing Hydroid Crisis, if memory serves. As Teferi, Time Raveler will go up to 3 there for C. Mullen. We just need to get Austin Collins into this match for just true complexity.
Yeah.
A little free-for-all.
Triangulate the names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of is it over?
Yeah.
It's over, Rock. Mullen wins. Mullen wins! Game 1. That was convoluted.
Yeah. These games there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a mess sometimes. But Collins Mullen does win game number here over Collin Roundtree. Simic Mass Manipulation. Wow, look at that board. I can't wait to go over Collins' sideboard. It's so small. He wins game number 1 over Esper Superheroes, which has the more diverse sideboard of the two. So here we go. 3 Lyra Dawnbringer. Ooh, 3 Kai's Wrath is kind of interesting. 2 Elder Spells, also interesting. I got 2 Duress, 2 Despark, an Ixalan's Binding, a Command the Dreadhorde, and a Cast Down.
I like the Desparks, the Duresses, the Elder Spell, just the stuff that fights Planeswalkers, in short.
I think the Elder Spell's definitely coming in Duress too. Yeah, and Despark.
Yeah.
Maybe Ixalan's Binding.
Maybe Ixalan's Binding too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think that's in play. Simic Mass Manipulation has 4 Thrashing Brontodon, 4 Ripjaw Raptor, 3 Thorn Lieutenant, 3 Negates, and an Entrancing Melody. Obviously an attempt to shore up the mono-red matchup in the sideboard.
Right. I mean, this is, I mean, you could argue 15 cards that you could bring in against mono red. Here, I think it'll probably just be the Negates.
There's no real reason to bring in any of these big creatures, right? There's no enchantments to kill.
They just die. They don't line up well in combat. They get bounced. Yeah. I mean, these cards, the creatures are not good against Planeswalkers by and large, but the Negates are fine here.
Well, those are your options there for both players. Roundtree versus Mullen will continue here in just a moment. But first, we do want to talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale, which this time it's the SCGCon Summer Sale. June 6th through the 9th is when SCGCon Summer is taking place. What do we got here?
An Exorcist from the Dark, Power Artifact from Antiquities, Lightning Bolt from Alpha or Beta, and an all-time classic banger, Ali from Cairo from Arabian Nights. You cannot, literally, if that's in play, you can't lose. Read the card.
It's an 0-1 or a 1-1?
0-1.
It doesn't fight. It
just
doesn't
back.
fight well.
Yeah. His power emerges from other sorts of arts and trickery.
Yes.
Go to StarCityGames.com/sale. You literally cannot lose the game when you have Ali from Cairo.
His presence
is
more than enough. I remember they made a morph of that card. It was Fortune Thief.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the same flavor.
No, it doesn't.
But it was still cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do an Ali from Cairo throwback, that's one of the better ways to do it, because I think it's more fun to be surprised that Ali from Cairo is involved in the game than just to have Ali from Cairo involved in the game.
Yeah.
Because fortunately, Ali from Cairo is quite weak. Even back in the day, it just died a lot, so who cares?
Of course.
But the game is not that replayable with Ali from Cairo. Either I can kill it or I can't. It's like Worship. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't lead to very satisfying.
At least it's a creature.
Right.
Worship is way harder to kill.
Yeah. Worship's a way, way, way worse design, and part of that is because it's so much more powerful. And the other part of it is it turns all your creatures into Ali from Cairo. And you can play with creatures that are better and harder to kill than Ali from Cairo.
This is all accurate.
Yep.
This is all accurate. Game number 2 about to be underway here between Collin Roundtree and Collin Mullen. They'll be bringing you a time-shifted match, of course. We'll have plenty of those all weekend long as we work through 8 rounds today, 4 standard into 4 modern. And then we're making a cut to our top 8 and seeing who's getting one step closer to qualifying for the StarCityGames.com Players Championship at the end of the year. Trust me when I tell you, December will be here sooner than you think. It's the early stages of June, which means it is summertime, which is kind of nice. As a Godless Shrine going to start things here for Collin Roundtree. Collin Mullen with an island. This is a Thought Eraser with the assist from Glacial Fortress. And Collin Mullen, you should know better.
What?
Spread that hand out for the viewers at home. Goodness, now I got, well, there's the Ali from Cairo, just out of nowhere.
Summon Ali from Cairo.
While Ali is in play, damage that will reduce you to less than 1 life lowers you to 1 life. Ali, further damage. Oh, all further damage is prevented. Sorry. Doesn't really stop infect.
No.
Yeah.
Or a lot of other things.
That's true. Here's a growth spiral. As Tamiyo hit the bend. We'll go back over to Roundtree. With Narset. Oof. Ali's just keeps coming up. I think the home base is trying to bring up different cards, but we're going to stay in Cairo.
Yeah.
Teferi is the find there off of Narset. Go ahead, Director. Try again. Pick any other card. It's a forest. It's a Hydroid Crisis for 2. Which will not be drawing a card, thanks to Narset.
Are we playing this one out?
It appears as though we are. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
All right. Well, I don't know, because time's an issue. I don't think Mullen's getting this one.
You already calling it?
Already calling it.
Turn 4, already calling it. All right. Well, that's getting bounced.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Narset's super fun. Forest. Well, if Nissa's here, which is not, this game could have gotten interesting.
Just Mullen out here with a turn 4 2/2 flyer, turn 3 3/3 flyer, like it's booster draft in 2002.
Teferi, Hero of Dominaria is going to put that one away.
Let this one go.
Nope.
Yo, that's the time.
Oh, negates the draw.
Big draw.
Pass the turn back. It's getting ugly out here. Tick up. Draw a card. Tick up. Play at instant speed. Glacial Fortress. Basilica Bellhaunt.
Should have some good options.
And now untap a couple of lands. We're heading back over to Mullen. Basilica Bellhaunt being a 3/4 certainly relevant here because Nissa was the draw, and Nissa would be able to help attack a Planeswalker, but that's not going to happen because the 3/4 is going to be in the way. So there is Nissa. Looking to shake up the world. The Spark is just going to kill that. Roundtree is not messing around. He is moving fast because he knows he needs to get this over with. The Spark doing a little exiling. Teferi is going to bounce that, draw a card. Other Teferi is going to draw a card. Narset is still just hanging out. Curious to see if Bellhaunt's going to go into the red zone or not.
Yeah, you got to be mindful of Nissa coming on the way back.
Whoa, well, we're going to command the Dread Horde. Yeah, this is a beatdown.
Let this one go.
Yeah, this is a beatdown. Now I have a Tamiyo and a Teferi. Command the Dread Horde, a very powerful sorcery that's working its way into the equation here in this particular game. As Tamiyo is going to return to Spark. This is the biggest beating.
There.
Yeah, this is the biggest beating I've ever seen. Oh my gosh.
It was close.
Oh my gosh.
Close. It's good, good to play it out.
Every turn was a nightmare. Oh my gosh. Best possible. Yeah.
Yep.
Tap out, use all of my mana every turn.
Yep.
Whoo, Collin Roundtree, we're all tied up now.
Cool.
You draw like that, you're going to be in the top 8 for sure. It's a good thing you brought that negate in, like you recommended. Looked
Well,
pretty good.
I mean, it might have been if he had it on the draw.
Maybe.
He would have been able to negate the Narset and then play a game. Probably still would have lost. Roundtree's hand was excellent, but, you know.
That was a hoot.
That was competitive.
You know what I'm going to talk about?
I don't.
StarCityGames.com newsletter.
Okay.
One of my favorite ads. Because I write it every week and it's your source for Magic the Gathering news, I'm going to make you say the rest.
Well, you can sign up for free, and every week the newsletter goes out. It's curated by the person next to me, Cedric Phillips.
Yep.
Your source for Magic the Gathering news. Included in there is highlights from some of SCG's best articles, upcoming SCG tour dates and locations. If you're looking for IQs or game nights near you can find that in the newsletter. And again, signing up is free over at go.starcitygames.com/newsletter.
Great ad read.
Appreciate you, man.
Haven't done that one for a little while.
Yeah, it's true. You cut me off. You started doing the read yourself. I don't know.
No, sometimes. I like to get them in. Sometimes I don't get to do them very often. So, just kind of taking turns now.
You don't think that you spend enough of your life reading ad copy? Come on, man. You're that thirsty for it? Okay.
Touche. Touche. It's all you now.
All right.
It's all you now.
Which one we want to do next?
You know what? We got YouTube ready?
Yeah.
Let's fire that one up. They're still shuffling. No one wants to see that. Boom, it's all you.
Well, you can subscribe today over at youtube.com/StarCityGames. Hundreds of thousands of people have already subscribed, so you should do it too. Plenty of great content up there, including Versus Live, Commander Versus, Flashback, Best of the SCG Tour, and much more. Again, you can subscribe for free at youtube.com/StarCityGames. Get notified when new content gets uploaded to the page.
Oh, wow, you still got that one.
What you got for me next?
Yeah. I've been told Lindsay Burley agrees with you that the hotel room coffee does not count towards daily cup count.
Yeah, Lindsay
That
knows.
is nonsense.
Lindsay knows.
You and your coffee. I'm going to tell you what. I can't tell you the last time I had a cup of coffee. Actually, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Did I tell you this revelation I had? I only drink coffee with Bailey's in it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's just because like black coffee is disgusting and everything else is disgusting. But
Love black coffee.
I will have a coffee with Bailey's on an airplane, and I will take my Biscoff cookies and dip it into the coffee.
Okay.
That is the only coffee that I will drink, and it's not
Yeah.
even particularly good.
Yeah. Not for me.
I understand that. I just can't imagine putting like equal or sweet and low into a cup of coffee.
I did that.
That sounds
I did that for a
horrible.
really long time, and then I realized how much of my sugar intake was just because of coffee. So I started drinking it black. It took maybe about a week to get used to it, and then that's how I prefer it now.
An island for Collin's Mullen to start, and a forest with a negate at the ready, and perhaps a growth spiral as well. What is this? That's getting negated right away. I don't think so, thought Eraser. Third land, second green source, just past the turn back. Over to Collin Roundtree we go. He's got a third land. Does he have a Teferi? That's an Narset instead. Negate number 2. The gates are looking good this time.
Yeah, see? If he had him last game, the game could have been different.
Fourth land? Nope. Growth Spiral main phase. Fourth land? Yes. Memorial of Genius. Pass the turn back. Can Roundtree take advantage? The shields are down. Teferi. That's sort of taking advantage, getting a Planeswalker on the battlefield. Plus it, Watergrave enters the battlefield tap. We're heading back over to Mullen. An island to draw there from Mullen.
Pretty good in the long term that Mullen got to cash in those negates profitably before Teferi Time Rattler got to be part of the equation.
Pretty big deal, I do agree, as here is Tameo. Named Nissa, who shakes the world, the whiff. But those cards have been placed in the graveyard will be coming back later at some point, I'm sure.
Next round pairings have been posted. 9:30 Seal Challenge players, your next round
3 mana here for Roundtree. That is an Oath of Kaya. Oh no, isn't that totally adorable?
It's a long way to do it here because Mullen's going to be able to go up again.
Oath of Kaya, have the damage go to Tamiyo, bounce the Oath of Kaya, and maybe fire it off again. We'll have to see.
A little surprised that Oath of Kaya is still in Roundtree's deck.
As am I. Nissa's the name once again. Somebody knows what they want, and somebody cannot find the Planeswalker who shakes the world. So Mullen will have to just pass the turn back over to Roundtree. Roundtree's going to plus the Teferi. Hollowed Fountain tapped past the turn. That's a little concerning. Perhaps there's a little something going on here from Collin Roundtree.
I mean, I would guess a pretty reactive hand. The coast is very clear for him to be tapping out for Planeswalkers if he has them.
How about Nissa for a third time? Ding-a-ding-ding. Tamiyo's doing some collecting of tails. Now here is a Nissa. Will this resolve? It looks like it will. Now, one thing that Roundtree's deck does have the ability to do is the 1-2 punch of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, into the Elder Spell, and then Ultimate the Teferi. Something that Ben Friedman at Grand Prix Kansas City last weekend used to great effect. That is a Kaya's Wrath at instant speed. Maybe a little surprised to see that in the deck after sideboard, but with how game number 1 looked, with all those creatures, it does make a little bit of sense.
Gives you some hope of resetting against a Mass Manipulation 2 should it end up taking a bunch of creatures.
Here is Oath of Kaya. Gonna shoot Nissa for 3. These Planeswalkers are tough to kill with the Oath. Now here is Oath of Kaya again to take care of the Nissa. However, this should be a card that Mullen can get back with Tamiyo. However, I don't think that Mullen actually has another green source of mana at this stage. Hydroid Krasis the draw.
I mean, another line that he has afforded to him here now with Roundtree not having a Teferi, he can just pick up a negate and pass. That gives him a lot of cover here.
It's actually pretty true.
And then next turn, you can try to get the ball rolling again.
Tamiyo's so versatile. So powerful, too. To note, Tamiyo returns target card from the graveyard to your hand. There's no clause that says non-land or non-spell or anything like that. It just kind of plays the role of an Eternal Witness. As there's Hydroid Krasis. Back over to Roundtree will go. He's trying to stop these Planeswalkers from taking over the game. And it's just going to be an isolated chapel and a passing the turn. It really makes you wonder what Roundtree's got going on here. You felt his hand was pretty reactive, and well, it had better be because he was so proactive in that first game, or in that second game. Pardon me. That this all just looks a little weird.
Well, I would also think it's probably safe to assume he's flooding out a little bit too.
Maybe. And this is the name of the game, and that's going to be going into Collin's Mullen's hand. There's a Forest. And there is Nissa. Mullen's starting to take control on what feels like a pretty good matchup in the first place. Island will be untapped from Nissa. It'll be a 3-3. Now Hydroid Krasis. And the island will come into the red zone. Your follow-up is green, tapping for 2 mana. Paradise Druid. Nissa should be on 6, and it is now. We head back over to Collin Roundtree.
I guess with Mullen having Incubation Druid in the deck, that's probably over the line to keep an Oath of Kaya. I think trying to manage this this whole Teferi deal and manage the Planeswalkers that way is a hard way to do it. But I think Incubation Druid probably gives you enough value to justify it.
Sure. Are there enough targets and all that jazz?
Right.
I think that's true.
Although it wouldn't surprise me if Incubation Druid was sided out.
Too slow?
Dies a lot.
Gets bounced.
Yep. You can see Paradise Druid still in the deck, though, because that's something you can play that's safe. And it's better at threatening Planeswalkers.
Only a 2 of, though. Whereas Incubation Druid is a 4 of. I think that's leaning towards maybe Mono Red and the Chain Whirlers of the world. Ah, Command the Dread Horde is the plan now, eh?
And that is a stocked graveyard.
Yes, it is. The powerful sorcery from War of the Spark. Looks like it's going to be resolving.
The Roundtree's at 23.
There are a lot of goodies.
A lot of life to play with here.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you got to be wary of that Hydroid Krasis that's in the air. Well, it looks like Tamiyo. Oh, boy. Tamiyo, Nissa, Narset, Teferi, and Jade Light Ranger are all going to come back? So I think he might be dealing himself 18 points. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Down to 5. At what cost?
Well, he's not under that, relatively speaking, not under that much pressure. And if he is able to find a land here off the Jade Light Ranger, which he did, he also has the option of Teferi on the Oath of Kaya again to pull himself up to 8 and kill something.
Sure. Maybe a good way to kill that Hydroid Krasis that's hanging around in the air. But I think you also want to try to get this Nissa off the battlefield. Otherwise, you have to concern yourself with mass manipulation, taking all of this stuff back.
Yeah, you want to pin on mana a little bit here if you can.
These cards will go to the bottom there in a random order there for Roundtree. Well, the game of Magic broke out. And it's a Planeswalker-centric one. Looks like it's going to start with Nissa. That'll untap a Glacial Fortress. So 3 mana was never going to be a problem. Tamiyo's going to return, I think that's Kaya's Wrath. Play a land for the turn. Kaya's Wrath is going to clean up all these knuckleheads. Looks like Roundtree will gain a little bit of life. Glacial Fortress will die because Nissa made it a land. A creature, pardon me, that's also a land. Now what to do with this Planeswalker? Minus target Oath of Kaya, draw a card. And that's it for me. Collin, you're up. Not a bad turn if you are Collin Roundtree. Mullen is the one with the catching up to do now. Nissa's still on the battlefield here. Forest, there are 2 out there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 blue sources of mana. So mass manipulation should be able to do a little bit of work here, I think.
Yep. Plus a clean shot is available with a land that you turn to a 3/3. So Mullen has his choice of which of 3 Planeswalkers to take care of this turn. And then mass manipulation can do some work as well.
Indeed it can. Don't think there's any clean way for Mullen to actually win the game this turn. You see our players and table spotters are helping to get all of these dice situated along with some floating mana as well. Might be time for the big blue sorcery. Mullen with 2 green mana floating, and he's tapping a bunch of it now. Thinking about maybe using Tamiyo in some capacity to return a card from the graveyard. I'm not sure which one, though. Negate as protection. Interesting. Well, there's mass manipulation.
And if he takes the Nissa here, he can use the fresh one to animate again, get another 3/3 for his trouble, and take care of both Planeswalkers or get Roundtree down to 1.
All good options. Untap the island.
I suppose you could split the difference here a little bit. Maybe take care of the Narset because that's threatening for next turn, and knock Roundtree down to 4.
Perhaps splitting the difference is good. I'll tell you what is for sure good. That's mass manipulation in this matchup. What a huge play there from Collin's Mullen.
Yeah, and Roundtree's deck has no counter spells in the list. So, and you understand why. Deck's really proactive, and Teferi is this presence in the format, but he just does not have a whole lot of defense against this card.
No, he really doesn't.
He can duress, he can try to sweep up the aftermath of it, but it's going to be really good. It's going to be really good in most spots.
Jade Light Ranger was the name there off of the Tamiyo activation, so 1 will be added there to Collin's hand. The Planeswalkers will bite the dust, and now for what looked like a great turn from Roundtree last turn with Command the Dreadhorde into Kaya's Wrath and clearing the battlefield, it only took 1 turn for Mullen to turn everything around in his favor.
And now we're on turn 1 of extra turns here. And to go back, what kind of trouble did Mullen get himself into playing out the stretch in game number 2?
It's a great question. We're going to have to find out because I think Collin Roundtree would actually be happy with the draw now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with Mullen at 21, I don't think Roundtree can win inside of the turns he's allotted. He may be able to squeeze a draw out here, though.
Time for a quick question. And you know what? This gives us a great opportunity to take a look at that chair. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Show it off. Carnox, new sponsor on the SCG Tour, designing some beautiful chairs that you at home may have the opportunity to sit in if you make it to the feature match area here on the SCG Tour. Like Collin Roundtree and
Are these things going to
Mullen.
be a staple at the Opens?
We'll see. We'll see what we can do.
I don't know if I can go back living a different way.
Right? It's like when you fly and you start flying out of coach into like economy comfort or something, there's no going back.
Yeah.
There's really no going back. Uh-oh, what do we got here? Looks like our head judge has been called over to answer some sort of question.
Magic player Evan Washburn-Moses.
I see. Players are trying to figure out how they can finish this game in turns, as here's an Oath of Kaya. Oath of Kaya is going to take care of the forest. Little floating of mana there. And now it's Teferi. I think this might get negated. Nope.
No, because the Oath of Kaya took care of the forest.
I thought he floated mana, though.
Well, also he could just tap the...
Now, the island will only tap for a single blue if he didn't float mana.
Right.
Either way.
Yeah. I mean, Roundtree can just go declare combat, move into second main.
Indeed, and everything would be fine. All right, back to Mullen for turn 2 of extra turns. Swingy games for sure, as Mullen will draw. Tamiyo, Collector of Tales.
Say this, if you're going to play with Nissa, the games really come down to your ability to protect Nissa because, boy, do you get Stone Rained a lot.
Yeah, you sure do, don't you?
And then you're down the Mana Flare, and now you're just, Mullen just pinned on resources at this point.
Yeah, with only access to 5 mana right now. Could finish off Teferi, sure, but Oath of Kaya would trigger then. And then that would actually make it harder to win the game.
Right.
Because Mullen gets turn 2 and turn 4 to try to win it. does make you wonder if that second game, if he should have gotten away from it a little bit sooner. He was getting dominated there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Narset into Teferi on your Krasis, at that point I think Mullen is on so close to a 0%er to win that you just got to let it go.
Now he's got to try to figure out if he can win this third game. Well, there's Nissa. That's a step in the right direction, I'll say that much. Untap the forest.
Yeah, so if you split the difference here, I mean, so Roundtree, assuming that he remembered the trigger goes up to 12, and then how are you getting this game done in time?
That is the question. Roundtree going to play a Drowned Catacombs, simply pass the turn.
I mean, it's got to be something like Nissa, second Nissa, to get to your 12.
And even that's asking a lot as we go to turn number 4.
Yeah, if Roundtree has anything, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Mass manipulation among the cards in hand here for Collin's Mullen. This is a Jade Light Ranger. Nissa, who shakes the world, will be put into the graveyard. Mass manipulation will be put into the graveyard. I don't see it, partner.
Yeah, he's got an attack dialed up here for 9, and then that's it. Mm-hmm. That's the turn.
Well, it'll be a Narset here from Collin Roundtree on turn number 5 of extra turns. Looks like we're working ourselves into a draw here, folks, but we'll watch this final turn of the match play out. Duress, the reveal. A card that varies from being very good to very bad against this deck, depending on if Tamiyo's in the battlefield or not, and that is going to do it. Looks like these players are lined up for a draw. So, unfortunately for Collin's Mullen, maybe should have gotten away from that second.